Adolis Garcia just hit the free agent market, and while the shine has faded, the power is still very real. The Dodgers could be staring at a classic buy low opportunity.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? I'm Harry Ruiz, that's Travis Rodgers, and it's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. On today's show, Evan Phillips, non-tendered, what the move signals, what the Dodgers might be thinking, and why this is more complicated than a simple roster cut. Shocker in Texas, why the Rangers are even entertaining the idea of shopping Corey Seager, and whether a Hollywood reunion makes any sense at all. But first, a name that keeps popping up around the league, especially in front offices desperate for power. Adolis Garcia. Worth a shot, Travis?
I don't hate it. It's one of those things that I'm excited to talk about, though. I can tell you that for sure. And we're going to get into it on today's episode of Locked On Dodgers, brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase.
You can catch more Travis weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 710 ESPN LA or on the ESPN LA app with the Travis and DeMarco Show. As for me, I'm the Spanish play-by-play announcer for USC football and the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, I went 0-2 this weekend. But when I'm not calling touchdowns, I'm right here doing what I've loved most for now the last 4 months, talking Dodger baseball with you. New around here? Welcome to the family. Glad you found us. If you're an everydayer, you already know what's up. You're the heartbeat that keeps Locked On Dodgers going. All right, let's jump in. Adolis Garcia, real upside or real risk? Let's start with a big question that's floating around the league right now. Is Adolis Garcia worth a shot for the Dodgers? Because they have a need out there in the outfield, and Garcia, he showed out big time 3 years ago. Since then, He's been struggling.
Yeah, I think that's it, Harry, right? So the Dodgers very clearly have a need in the outfield. They have a need for somebody that can kind of come in and be that third guy that can offer a level of consistency that is, I mean, you don't have to be as good as Teoscar Hernandez. You don't have to be have as much upside as a guy like Andy Pages, but there needs to be some level of consistency. And I think that's the part where Garcia is maybe coming up a little bit short. Like you said, he came onto the scene a few years ago and was amazing and had a great run. He really hasn't been that player in a minute. The other part about Garcia that I think will give the Dodgers a whole bunch of pause is he's closing in on 33 years old. I think they're looking for somebody to fill that role that is probably a little younger. We've talked about this a lot, that I think one of the things that the Dodgers really need to get focused on is getting a little bit younger where they can. They're not going to get younger at shortstop or at third or at first or on the mound or behind the plate. Then, Teoscar Hernandez, whichever corner outfield spot he takes, he's going to have one of those spots. They have an older team. Really, Pages is the only player that's on the right side of the age equation. They need to get a little younger, so I'd be surprised if they went old in a player like Garcia.
Yeah, and then Garcia, you're talking about a guy who's going to turn 33 in March, who will be in his 33-year-old season in 2026. And the thing is, that the market for outfielders right now isn't booming. The execs are rolling their eyes, and it's like, man, it's thin right now. And into that picture walks in a guy as Garcia who has tools, who has history, who has the pop, but also the red flags that are big enough to block the sun right now, because in 2021, that was his breakout. And then the 2023 postseason, that was a run that was just something that, was amazing. That propelled the Rangers to that, okay, we're good, to that we're great, and got them that World Series championships. But since then, it's back-to-back seasons with a below-average OPS plus. Last year, he rolled out a slash line that the Rangers just couldn't continue having on their roster, so they non-tendered their playoff hero from a couple years ago, and I think that shows you precisely. That speaks louder than words, them just saying, like, okay, or showing you we're non-tendering him, we're letting him walk.
Yeah, and think about this, too. Think about why the Dodgers are in the need of a left fielder specifically this season, because the Michael Conforto experience was unsatisfactory, shall we say. That, they did kind of the older player, older veteran guy that's been around a long time. And Conforto, to, you know, I'll give him a little bit of credit. Michael Conforto had a track record in Major League Baseball of being a relatively consistent performer. Didn't work out in Los Angeles. He didn't really play all that well. But the Dodgers, I don't know if that's a situation where we tried this and let's go a little younger, or maybe it just, hey, it didn't work with Michael Conforto. Maybe it would work with Adolis Garcia. We'll see. I do think that there's always this interesting little, you know, energy in the room, whatever it is, when it comes to the Dodgers going and taking a player who's in a little bit of a down cycle. Because I think one of the things that they're particularly good at is seeing somebody, seeing the talent, seeing whatever is in there, and then them deciding, we know how to get it out. We've seen it happen so many times with so many different players. Like, just because you're struggling over there doesn't mean that you're going to struggle over here. We can fix that. And the list of players that we've been through on that is long. You know, you can go back to Justin Turner, Chris Taylor, Max Muncy, Tyler Anderson. There's just been a whole bunch of guys that when they come in there, they're like, no, let's do more of this and less of that. And all of a sudden the player really kind of takes off. So maybe they see something in Garcia that they feel like they could work with, that they feel like they could get the most out of. That's intriguing to me. But if they're signing up just to get more of what we've seen from him the last couple of years, that doesn't add up really.
That right there is the main question, Travis. Is there untapped value that they can unlock that someone else can't? And in the case of Michael Conforto, they were like, hey, you know what? He's consistent. He's decent. He's not great, but we don't need him to be great. We got other players to be great. Let's bring this guy in, have him perform at the same stat line he has in previous stops with New York, with the Mets, with the San Francisco Giants, and bring him in here, and that's all we need. And he gave you way below that line, and that's why I was like, oh boy. But look, we were talking about Garcia, a guy with power, a guy with arm strength, a guy with speed. Even in a bad season, he still hit 19 home runs, still stole double-digit bags, still uncorked throws that make base runners question their choices. So it's like, I feel that the Dodgers, if there's a team that loves buying stock low, and that's where Adolis is right now, I think that's them. It's either a multi-year low or a Teoscar Hernandez kind of deal where he just comes because the Dodgers are a winning team and gives them a discount, gets his stock back up, and then he can shop himself higher in 2026 at the end of the year.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things the Dodgers have to offer to, you know, potential players that a lot of teams don't, which is exactly what you just said, Harry, which is the for lack of a better description, the Teo plan. Hey, listen, come on in here on a one-year deal. You're going to play in the playoffs. You might go to the World Series. You might win a World Series. You got a chance to kind of rehab, I don't want to say your image because I don't think it's that, but rehab your game and put yourself back out in the market moving forward. And I think this is the perfect opportunity to do that. Where it gets a little tricky this time is because there is labor uncertainty on the horizon. We're not quite sure what this is going to look like. It's very, very likely that there will be some sort of work stoppage at some point. And now, if you're a player like Garcia, I would imagine you're looking to get a guaranteed deal before the next labor negotiation comes up. Doesn't mean he'll get one, but I'm sure that's kind of what he's looking for along the way. But I think the Dodgers have a opportunity. This is another one of the things that they can sell that a lot of teams don't. Come here. You're going to play a bunch of games in front of a lot of people. You're going to get a chance to win. You're going to get a chance to play in October. And if you play well, there's going to be a line of people that want to re-sign you. Why don't you come in here and do a one-year deal, probably relatively team-friendly. And even the Conforto thing, right? As bad of a deal as it was, Dodgers were out of it within a year. You know, this wasn't, again, forgive me, Angel people that might be listening to this. This isn't an Anthony Rendon situation where it's just an absolute anchor around your neck for the better part of a decade and you can't get out from underneath it. It's 1 year. Even if it goes as bad as the Conforto deal goes, you're out of it basically before it even starts. So under those circumstances, sure, why not? But I still think you're going to see a younger player get a shot out there before you see a veteran player, unless something kind of falls into their lap.
Yeah, if the Dodgers see something in the numbers that tells them that they can even get like an 80% of his 2023 version, I think that becomes interesting. If the price isn't ballooned, if the commitment is short, I think that the Dodgers would be probably throwing out the hook and being like, let's try to see if this is a situation where he could be an outfielder for a championship level team or maybe just a lottery ticket. That's the debate right there.
Well, we've seen him be a contributor on a championship team. That's not a fantasy, right? That's not one of those you got to squint and kind of imagine it. We've seen it. He clearly has that gear, whatever you want to call it, about, hey, the lights get really bright. He's not scared. He'll go out there and do what needs to be done. I think the question is how much is left in the tank and whether the Dodgers want to kind of re-rack the Conforto experience with a guy who wasn't even as consistent as Conforto was in the first place and is going to be 33 years old. Dodgers are already plenty experienced. You get ready, everydayers, right? You're going to hear me say this a lot. They need to start getting younger when they can, and this is an opportunity because there's other places you can't do it. You're not getting younger at 7 of the 9 positions that you have, so this is one of the spots you have an opportunity to do it. They should really consider doing it.
Exactly. Well, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, one superstar the Dodgers do know and very well, and why the Texas Rangers are quietly listening to calls regarding Corey Seager.
The NBA is back, and that means there's no better place to get in on all that NBA action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the National Basketball Association. So even if you miss the start of a game, maybe you want to miss the start of the game, maybe you want to see how it kind of starts to unfold, see who's hot, see who maybe is ice cold, and then you want to ride that hot hand, FanDuel's got you covered because FanDuel, they have live bets on everything from who will get that next bucket to who's going to have the fourth quarter comeback. Plus, you can combine your live bets into a same game parlay for a shot at even bigger payouts. Who does not like that? It takes every game, which is already great, and makes it even more exciting, especially when your team is getting ready to make that late push. Always the best thing, right? So right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So here's what you do. You head on over to FanDuel.com, you sign up, and you play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen of the day, and thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. Check out our YouTube channel where you can subscribe for free. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and more. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Corey Seager on the market? Texas is making the league blink. Let's go into this because, in my opinion, it's wild. The Rangers have talked internally about the possibility of trading Corey Seager. Now, is it likely? Not really. Is it real? Absolutely, because Texas, their payroll right now is ballooning faster than expected. And Seager, he has a $31.5 million salary every year through 2031. That's 7 more years of premium pay on a roster where ownership is reportedly looking to tighten the belts a little over there in Arlington, Travis.
Yeah, I think the last thing you said there, Harry, is probably the most important thing. It's not just that he makes a lot of money, it's that he makes a lot of money for a long time. That, to go back to what we just said in the last segment, not that Corey Seager was within 100 million miles of Anthony Rendon. He's not. Seager actually appears to enjoy playing baseball, which, compared to Rendon is different. But this is a guy that has had an injury history when he was young. This is a guy that has missed a lot of time as a younger player. So as he ages, especially as a middle infielder, I don't know what that looks like. And that is a pretty darn hefty price tag. Now, here's the thing. Corey Seager was one of my favorite Dodgers while he was here. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. I mean, just a blue blood player through and through, first round draft pick, rookie of the year, the World Series MVP, NLCS MVP, all-star, just an all in all good teammate and everything else. I was really sorry to see him go. I really was. Question is, and I don't think the Dodgers would ever get involved with a player that's involved that needs that much money with that kind of injury history at that age. But even if they did, where do you play him? Mookie Betts just broke his back learning how to play shortstop and has turned into a darn good one. You're going to move Corey Seager somewhere else at this point? And if that's the answer, where? Are you going to put him on the other side of the bag at second? That doesn't seem right. You're going to put him at third and move Muncy to second? Maybe that makes a little bit more sense, but there just isn't a clear entry point for Corey Seager. As much as I love seeing him here in LA, and I was even happy for him when he won the World Series in Texas, I'm a fan of his, but I just don't see a fit back in LA.
Yeah, no, and let's say it as well. He has a limited no trade clause, 8 teams on his list. The 8 teams aren't clear. One of them is the Braves. I don't know why he doesn't like Atlanta. But if you're paying attention to baseball economics, that fits a trend right there. Big long-term deals almost always lead to turbulence around years 4, 5, 6. Teams just start feeling the weight.
You're so right. And look, you, me, probably 95% of the people that are listening to the Locked On Dodgers podcast probably feel this way, that we're in the bag for the Dodgers. But this is another really good example of what the Dodgers have avoided so far. We'll see. We'll see what happens as we get deeper into the Mookie Betts deal. We'll see what happens as we get deeper into the Shohei Ohtani deal. But what we're talking about right now when it comes to Corey Seager is what the Dodgers have avoided, which is big dollars long term to a player who's clearly coming over the side of the mountain and in decline. I don't know. We'll see about Mookie. I'm really interested to see what Mookie's going to look like next season offensively. Was it just a bad year? Could be. That's fine. And then he bounces back and he looks like Mookie Betts. Or is this the beginning of a real offensive change in his game? And the Dodgers looking at a long-term deal for big money, and all of a sudden they're not getting big-time production out of it. But, you see what's going on with Corey Seager. You see some of these other guys around the league that make this money. And, whether it's going to be Kyle Tucker or Bryce Harper is in this position now where he's kind of come over the top. It's still good, but is he, a $40 million a year player anymore? I don't know. And the Dodgers been very lucky to avoid that up to this point.
And that's precisely why I chose this topic here. Not much to say. Corey Seager, should the Dodgers bring him back? Because I don't feel that's a move that this front office would make, but more to look over at while Texas is panicking 4 years into a 10-year contract. The Dodgers, they're the ones sitting with a healthy farm, healthy payroll structure, and a front office that rarely gets stuck holding the bag. Even the Mookie Betts deal, it's halfway through. 6 years out of 12, and you already won 3 World Series. And in that case, you feel confident where it's like worst case scenario, and knock on wood, if they don't win a World Series the next 6 years, if you tell me before they sign Mookie Betts, the Dodgers are going to win 3 World Series championships in the next 12 years, I would sign it right then and there back in 2020. And look, that's what has already happened.
Oh, yeah. No, look, the Mookie Betts deal is a good deal no matter what happens from, November 24th, 2025 moving forward. It was a good deal because of what you said. You got 3 World Series titles. I might even argue, and I'd have to talk to Ranger people to have a better sense of this, but Texas Rangers had never won the World Series. They did win the World Series in large part because Corey Seager was good. That deal may have already paid for itself by getting that first ever World Championship. That may be how they look at it, and I wouldn't even tell them that they're wrong. When you got an organization like Texas who is still in search of that first title and you get it, and the guy that you spent all the money on helped you go get it, I think that's a pretty good deal. Just as a quick aside, I was at SoFi Stadium last night covering the Rams. I do Locked On Rams as well, and Rams pre-F and post. They put Mookie up on the big board on the Infinity. Harry, it was Aaron Donald bobblehead night. Aaron Donald was in the house. They were celebrating the career of Aaron Donald, and without a doubt, the largest cheer of the night was for Mookie Betts. That is what Mookie Betts has meant to LA. That is what he's meant to the Dodgers. They put Mookie up on the big board and the place came unglued. So that just kind of gives you an idea of what a great deal that one was.
And you're talking about Aaron Donald, the guy that pretty much put the Rams on his back to take the Rams to the first Super Bowl championship in Los Angeles since the Raiders in the 80s. And still you had Mookie Betts getting a bigger pop because, look, LA, you have teams like the Lakers, like the Dodgers, like the Rams, Chargers. You got the sports picture in Los Angeles is ridiculous. But when the Dodgers are on it, man, it's tough to match what happens at Dodger Stadium, the vibe around the city. Because look, let's be honest, it's this logo right here.
Yep.
That it's just the thing that connects the city. And LA, the Rams, they have their LA logo, but you don't see people just repping the city this way as the Dodgers do. So Mookie Betts, huge. Seager, I would say he would get a that kind of pop if he would have had the opportunity to be out there at SoFi Stadium after the Dodgers won the World Series where he was the MVP.
Yeah, I don't have any question that Corey Seager, that on the heels of the 2020 World Series where he put the team on his back, would have gotten an unbelievable ovation as well. But it just speaks to how popular Mookie is here. They actually put him up twice, Harry, which you never see, right? They usually put like they'll do the celebrity cutaways, and we've seen LeBron, we've seen a lot of people at the game, and everybody we saw Shohei a few years ago, right after he signed, the place went bananas. But
hey, I've seen you and Sua. They put you guys up there too in the big screen. I see you guys too. Well, shout out our guy Sua Cravens.
Yeah, Mookie's ovation was slightly louder than the one that Sua and I get when they put us up there. But it was great. It was great to see him, and I liked that Mookie's taking in a little NFL football. It was great.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, that guy. If any sport he plays, a perfect
He's
bowler.
swing a golf club.
Exactly. I was about to say a perfect golfer, a perfect baseball player. It's like if he wanted to play football, he would figure out a way to be a slot receiver and be outstanding at it. Puka Nakua, get out of the way. But look, going back to Corey Seager, I don't think he would be a football player, but his name being even whispered on the market is a big story. And you better believe Andrew Friedman is at least monitoring, because that's what he does. The best executive in baseball.
And that's the job, right? And I just keep coming back to that. The Dodgers have not found themselves in a situation where, we got to really, a Mike Trout deal. Mike Trout is an unbelievable player. Mike Trout's walking straight into the Hall of Fame, but they got a lot of runway left on a deal with a lot of dollars for a player that is just good as opposed to being great. And so far, I'm not saying it can't happen to the Dodgers, because it certainly can, but so far they've been able to avoid that.
I'll just say this. I think we stuck with Tanner Scott, and that's just a 4-year deal. 1 year in, I'm already quitting on it, but I get it. Travis,
keep the faith. I think Tanner Scott's going to be all right next year. I do.
I'm like, Travis is on one side. I'm on the other side. Where are you? All right. Talking about relievers, Evan Phillips is out, at least on paper. Next on Locked On Dodgers, we'll break down why the Dodgers made the call. The NFL season is here. It's crazy that we're already heading into week 13. And I'll be 1000% honest. There's nothing better than being in the stadium, surrounded by fellow fans and cheering on your team. But getting tickets can be a hassle. Between queues, login screens, and prices jumping at checkout, it's just flat out frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets, delivered on time, and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. I pulled up Game Time, and in just a couple of taps, I saw amazing deals. I'm talking about your favorite NFL games as low as $100. The app made it super simple. I could even see the exact view from my seat before buying. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Swipe, tap, tickets, go. Download Game Time today. Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. You can find Travis on social media at Travis Rodgers on X and Instagram to check out all the great work he's doing over at 710 ESPN LA. Meanwhile, I'm at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Dodgers cut ties with Evan Phillips, but is it really a goodbye? The Dodgers non-tendered him, a player who was once one of the most dominant relievers in baseball. Now, let's make some sense out of it, because this is a classic combination of timing, injury uncertainty, and arbitration math, because Phillips is coming off of a brutal run of injuries. A rotator cuff strain, a forearm issue, finally gets Tommy John surgery in June, and that wipes out most of 2026, maybe even more. And because he's arbitration eligible, the Dodgers had to decide if they wanted to commit meaningful money before knowing whether he'll pitch at all next year or let him walk. And they made the decision, Travis. They're letting him walk.
Yeah, I think Phillips kind of falls into that category of what we were talking about earlier. Phillips was another one of those players that they saw somewhere else and said, we'll take that. We can work with that. And they brought him in, and he became, like you said, he became an incredibly effective player for the Dodgers for a period of time. I feel bad even saying it quite like this, but it's the only way I know how to say it. I don't know if he's special like that. I think the Dodgers probably look at this like we can find another Evan Phillips. We can develop our own. We can draft the next one. We can find one on another team and bring them over and start to do it. And maybe somebody without the injury history that Phillips unfortunately has had throughout his career. He was a very good Dodger. He was a big part of what they did. It's just, you said it, Harry, the timing of his injuries with where he is in his big league arc, and doesn't mean that he can't come back at one point or another, but I was not particularly surprised to see that. The Dodgers, I know we spent a ton of time at the end of the season talking about how thin the options were in the bullpen. They actually have a lot of options in the bullpen coming back next year. A lot of guys that are already under contract, some guys that are coming back, guys like Brusdar Graterol that I think is likely to be here. Keep in mind, Brock Stewart, a trade that they made in the middle of the season, he basically barely pitched for them. He'll be healthy and ready to go next season. So there's just a lot of traffic on the road for a player like Phillips who's fighting his way back from an injury. So not a huge surprise to see the Dodgers walk away from that.
Yeah, and he was a huge part of this team. 2.21 ERA, along 3 seasons, over 40 saves. He was a guy that Dave Roberts trusted in every big moment from 2022 through 2024, but non-tendering him gives both sides flexibility, and that's something important because Andrew Friedman said it himself. The conversations were open, honest, and ongoing, and Phillips wants to see how his rehab progresses, possibly throw off of a mound and then choose the best situation for himself and his family. And as a baseball player, that's something that people sometimes don't see, Travis, that there's a human being behind the star, behind the player that you see on the field being cheered on by 50,000 plus at Dodger Stadium. So it's better for him to just get ready, to get prepared, and then see, okay, do I want to go back to LA? Do I need to go somewhere closer to another part of the country and be closer to other family members? So that's something that Evan Phillips will have to evaluate. And look, it's the same situation as Tony Gonsolin. Same injury timeline, same arbitration squeeze, and the Dodgers, they stayed involved the entire way, and they made the same decision.
Yeah, it's funny because this is just the ugly, difficult, challenging side of professional sports is that, guys got to make decisions for themselves and their families, like you're saying, and teams need to make decisions for themselves. And you kind of have to put the personal aside and just make some cold, calculated decisions along the way. That being said, I think the Dodgers have done a really good job of, with a guy like Tony Gonsolin, with a guy like Evan Phillips, of being open, honest, and ongoing during these conversations. So when it does come down, nobody's caught flat-footed. Nobody's caught with, an unexpected, oh, by the way, we've non-tendered you and you're on the street. And then, wait, I thought I was coming back. They operate pretty above board. And so I think agents know this, other players know this, and then when the opportunities to sign with teams, the Dodgers, again, it's another one of those reasons that they're near the top of the list because agents know what they're going to get. The Dodgers tell the truth. They're able to kind of navigate their way through this, so what you hear is what you're going to get. You're not always going to hear great news, but everybody can deal with that, right? Like, bad news is not good, but at least I know what it is and I can make decisions accordingly. And that the Dodgers operate in a way that everybody understands is another feather in their cap. And it means a guy like Phillips, who maybe you have to cut loose at one point, but you bring him back and there are no hard feelings. That's another advantage that this organization has over some others.
Hey, most saves in a season since Kenley Jansen left the Dodgers. Evan Phillips, he had 24 back in 2023. So that shows you, it's like, hey, that's a guy that, if healthy, the Dodgers would love to have. So I wouldn't be shocked if Phillips does return on a new deal, but I wouldn't be shocked also if a team needing bullpen help at midseason jumps first and beats the Dodgers to the jump. But this wasn't a we're done here move. This is a let's reset and reevaluate move that the Dodgers made with Evan Phillips. And the Dodgers, make no mistake about it, they will be hunting relievers all winter long.
Oh, yeah. No, they're going to continue to look. This is one of my favorite things about this organization is they've won two World Series in a row. They've won 3 of the last 6. And I guarantee you they're going to be as aggressive as any other team out there during the offseason within reason. They're aggressive while being really smart. They're never aggressive and reckless. They're aggressive and tactical. And I think they'll be aggressive in pursuing an outfielder. I think they'll be aggressive in pursuing bullpen help, and anything else that may shake loose. They have always got their eyes and ears open. They are not just going to sit here and go, oh, well, we won a couple. Let's just see if we can win. They're going to continue to push forward. I think a lot of that goes back to Shohei Ohtani and his deferral of the vast majority of the $700 million that the Dodgers agreed to pay him. And the understanding was, if I don't take this money now, you're going to go spend it elsewhere, and they're going to. And that's awesome.
They have, and they will keep on doing so. All right, that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Tomorrow, we're diving into a big picture conversation. Dave Roberts hitting the 10-year mark as Dodgers manager.
Crazy.
What his legacy really looks like, how he's perceived inside and outside the organization, and what it means moving forward. Plus, on top of that, a fun development brewing. Dalton Rushing. Could the Dodgers actually look at him as a future left fielder just to keep that bat in the lineup? We'll explore the possibility and what it says about the team's long-term planning. Travis, it's Thanksgiving week, man. Thankful to have you on here, and thank you for, man, it's been, what, July, August, September, October, 5 months. I said 4 months earlier. It's been a breeze.
5.
Yeah.
We'll celebrate with a little turkey and stuffing and get ready for the next World Series championship. Harry, you and I are 1 for 1 on Locked On Dodgers and titles, so we're off to a great start.
Let's go, baby. 100% efficiency right here. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.